All right, the other things in here, we'll try to go through them quickly. I think obviously just to jump around a bit, the Samaritan Medical Center change of schedule, I think everyone's read or heard about that. Nothing big there. As far as Mr. Moot, that saga unfortunately continues to play out with his arrest over the weekend again for unlicensed operation and the impoundment of his vehicle. Yeah, Saturday evening. So one wonders what will happen with all of that. But the vehicle, as I understand it, is impounded until at least such time that the V&T things are adjudicated. Is that correct?
Until he goes to court.
Until he goes to court, or until it's...
That will be up to the judge.
Okay.
Has he had, are any of the required projects underway in regard to getting the home to code?
No, he has until September 15th to provide an engineer's report, and we know that he has contacted someone to look at the house, so we anticipate that we should get something
by the 15th.
Yeah.
Who's the prosecutor on the V&T stuff? Is that our attorneys, or is it the DA's office?
I would imagine the DA's office.
Right. Because a lot of these things just tend to go through the grist mill of the court system. I think it should be noted the aggravated nature of his activities and the clear intention to use that truck, even though he knew darn well that he was being scrutinized over it, and he'd already been cited for unlicensed operation. He chose to apparently keep the truck at the plaza and hidden in plain sight, if you will, and then chose to drive it again. And
I think what you're requesting is our counsel supply an amicus brief, so to speak.
Whatever happens, I think I'm sure these things go on all the time. We always see aggravated unlicensed operation charges, but this was a case in which it was pretty clear what he was doing, and in doing so subjected folks in that neighborhood to a certain amount of risk given his past driving record. So to the extent that's a public statement or an amicus brief or something, I offer that.
You're asking somehow to ensure that the DA just doesn't...
Right. I think that we should communicate...
Maybe Mr. Sly can...
the history of this particular case and the discussion that's occurred in case no one from the DA's office watches Mr. Weed's telecast.
Mrs. Corvo, also, just in addition to that, and I know we've had some conversation about it in the past, especially initially before Codes was on the scene, was in regard to the social network, the various agencies that we were hoping going to be able to play a role. And I know there was some initially with the stay at the hospital and whatnot, but is there any update in regard to what role they're playing, if at any, in his life at this point?
I cannot give you an update. As Mr. Sly indicated, Mr. Burrows attended a meeting at the county level regarding Mr. Moot and what happened. We did ask social services to come with us, Adult Protective Services, when we went to the house the first time.
Right.
Which is our standard practice if we're in a position where we're going to condemn a property and
sure.
Ask someone to leave their home or their rental property. And from that perspective, it's really in the hands of DSS,
so
social services and mental health agencies at the county level. But I know that Mr. Burrows has been in contact with them. So.
Okay. So there is some dialogue then going on at this point then. Okay.
They had a meeting that Mr. Burrows attended. I don't know if there is continuing dialogue. I can't speak to that.
Well, and I think we're all concerned with the end game, here. If the house isn't, brought to code and the various decisions that have to be made there, and then, decisions that in regard to him and his, welfare. And I just don't know what options there are and how actively they are involved at this point.
Well, he's made it clear he doesn't particularly care what anyone's concerns are about him, and he stated so verbally. I mean, you know, short of someone taking, you know, physical custody of him, and no one wants to see him in jail, but I'm not sure the social service system has really found a way to deal with this.
Right. Well, I'm just hoping we can watch it and encourage it.
Well, we will continue to be in contact with his legal representative throughout this process, and so that he's aware of what's going on and keep in communication with Mr. Wood's family.
Okay. I don't think there was anything else on the formal schedule. We have the Starwoods open house coming up. That topic I had brought up last week about those grant applications for municipal consolidation grants or something, is that something we are going to have a chance to discuss at a...
Not this evening, Mr. Mayor. Staff actually received a packet at our staff meeting. I've asked all the department heads to look at it. We will be getting together to discuss it. We will be sending someone to the training in October, and then it will be on the work session in October.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Anything else council members had? Yes.
Real brief, and you don't have to go over them tonight. I had asked about the signs in North Hamilton. If in our packet, just a little update, and I know we haven't talked about it recently, but Gaffney Drive, it seemed like things were going forward and then have stalled. I don't know. And I haven't completely read through your manager's report. If it's in there, I apologize.
Gaffney Drive is not in there. North Hamilton Signs was communicated to the department. That unfortunately fell through the cracks. They're aware of it, and they'll be installing those signs, and I appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
What about Gaffney Drive? Is that anything new on
That I can't speak to. I know Mr. Sly had conversation with the attorney for the estate as late as last Thursday or Friday, and I spoke about it. So we're hoping to get an answer back from them.
So I think we also have to resolve at some point that sewage pump station, too. And because we have a situation where a undisclosed party, at least to the property owners, is billing people, right, for a service that people are already paying for through their sewer bill. And
they're actually billing them for a service they're not paying for through their sewer bill. We don't own the sewage pump station.
I'm not going to burden the council with a long discussion on it, but what's going on, there's no statutory or contractual obligation that those people have to pay anybody for a service that, you know, when you dump stuff in the sewer line, it gets to the plant. And that pump station, I think, is going to have to be resolved as a part of a global solution on this. That's not an acceptable situation as far as I'm concerned over there. And I don't think it would hold much muster with the Attorney General, since everybody likes to contact him, that you got property owners being sent a bill in addition to their sewer bill for something they aren't contractually obligated to pay, I don't think.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not issuing the bill. I know there was private development
Sure.
and a private sewer lift station that was put in. There were some buildings and development in that area that wanted to connect to it and be part of the system, and there was an agreement, and there's been payment over a long number of years, up to 30 or 40 years, on a monthly basis for the services provided. So there is some long-standing precedent between the owners of the lift station and the owners of some of the properties over there. Now, whether or not that
should be cleaned up, the whole thing.
Mr. Mayor, I don't disagree with you, but to say that there isn't precedent, there is long-standing precedent, and the property owners have been paying the bills. And that is something that happened long before my time or yours. And
Sure.
it is something we are looking at, but it is also a big-ticket item if
Right.
you're talking about replacing the lift station.
Okay.